Hello. Hello everybody. How are you guys doing? Hopefully you guys all had a good weekend. I guess this is a quick sound check. Hopefully I sound good. Hopefully everything looks good. Let me know if there's any issues. But yeah, hopefully you guys are all doing good. Had a good weekend, hopefully. I don't know if we got any Canadians and Americans here. Sad to see that we lost the hockey game. So sad. Oh boy, I didn't get to watch it though, but I fell asleep. I fell asleep and I was like, it's 8 a.m. in the morning for the game. I'm not getting up for this. But I did wake up like here and there, and then I woke up I think at like 9:30, and I checked and it was like 1-0 America, and I was like, ah, dang it. And what's funny is like I was like, you know what, I think we're gonna lose. And then I wake up I think at around 11 or 10:30, and I see that we scored, and it was like 1-1, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not bad. Okay, we might have a shot. And then I wake up again, and it is, and then we lose in OT, and I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this? No one's, also, just a quick check, no one's seeing like a double screen, right? I'm noticing this, like, maybe it might just be my YouTube. I see this. Oh, is this like what it looks like on phone? Oh, this is new. Oh, interesting. So I guess a little behind the scenes, I guess. For YouTube, when we live stream, usually it just shows what it looks like for you guys, like on the computer or like on full widescreen. But I guess now they're doing a thing where they show you what it also looks like on the phone. Because I have like 2 screens on the creator side. That's interesting. That's neat. Oh, that's cool. But boo vid. No, I can't believe you guys. I can't believe America won. Well, you know what? You know, to be a good sportsmanship. Congratulations to America for winning, getting gold for hockey. I guess, you know, at the end of the day, the puck, as we people in sports say, puck don't lie, I guess, or ball don't lie. We say ball don't lie, but I guess hockey doesn't have a ball, so it'll be the puck don't lie. Yeah. Well, it's funny. It makes it sound like hockey's the only thing worth watching in the Olympics, but this is like a little, I guess, small tidbit about me. I like curling. I think curling's actually a really fun sport to watch, but I know that most people think curling's kind of boring. But I think curling can be fun. I think it's like entertaining to watch. But hello everybody for joining. Yeah, art time. So this one's a little bit of a special stream. We're gonna be doing a kind of fixing your characters type of a stream, where basically the community has submitted kind of characters, and I'm gonna be going over them and kind of offering my 2 cents, a little bit of critiques here and there, but also maybe if I might do some drawovers, maybe show them what is a different alternate take that they could have with the character to maybe bump it up a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of today's plan. I just realized I did not have the, let's say, the housekeeping script put up, so give me a sec. Need to grab it. Okay. Cool. Shrink it a bit. Hey, cool. Let me see. Only had, what is this? Only had an illustrated half-body sketch. Yeah, so you guys will see what I've picked. I've gotten a lot. I don't know if we'll be able to go through all of them. I'm gonna try to. Some of them I have a lot more to say than others, so maybe that will kind of help it out a bit. Hockey pretty much is the only thing worth watching in the Olympics. Nah, you can't. I mean, you know, skating is pretty fun. It's like very mesmerizing. I feel like figure skating's mesmerizing to watch. Hockey is probably the most widespread, like it's probably the most popular to watch, but I think there's other sports to watch as well. Okay, so now that I've got my script up, I guess we'll start officially. Well, hello everybody and welcome to our stream. My name is Josh and I'm one of the instructors over at Wing Canvas, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome to our stream, and I'm glad you're able to join us for today. As I mentioned, today's topic is fixing your character's live stream. So the community ahead of time had sent in a bunch of characters, and to be honest, I was not expecting the amount that we got. Got a pretty decent amount. I think we got like over 50 submissions from you guys, and I was able to access pretty much, I think, all of your submissions. So good job on sending over your images to me, and we got a lot of good submissions, a lot of like varying skills and styles and subject matter. So I try to grab a variety, so it's gonna be a lot of fun to go over all of your drawings and character designs and everything. And yeah, the plan is we're gonna go through them one by one, and I'm gonna maybe do some drawovers, maybe I'll write some notes down for you guys, and then at the end of the stream I'll upload those notes. And hopefully for those who got a little bit of a critique from me, you guys can kind of save and download those images. But we'll see how much we do. I don't know if I'll upload all of them right to the live stream channel on our Discord, or if we'll send them out individually. But maybe I'll figure that out with our mod afterwards. But yeah. So if you don't know who we are, or if this is your first time joining us, we are Wing Canvas. We are a school of illustration and visual storytelling dedicated to helping art nerds turn their passion into income. And yeah, glad you guys are really able to join us. But yeah, we're not just a YouTube channel, we're also an online school. So if you're interested in taking our classes and upgrading and leveling up your art skills, definitely check out our website. And yeah, I think that's about it. I think just gonna jump right into it. Usually we do a little bit of a community art challenge shout out, but since today's topic is kind of shouting out and showing some love to our community, and we only have a limited amount of time, I feel like it's proper to just go right in and kind of just go over everybody's, or not everybody's, but all the submissions that we got. So yeah. Hope I'm surprised you were able to access them all. That's usually a struggle point. Yeah. That it was a surprise. And so the images that you see on my screen, they are not the communities, they're mine. I was just like, okay, well, the topic was character design. I'm just gonna grab a bunch of images for that that I've drawn lately. I think I drew all these. Yeah, this is no, not all of these. Most of these are from this year. So I'm like, okay, this is a little head teaser, I guess. Not, I don't know what head teaser is, but a little of a teaser for what's to come. But yeah, looking forward to seeing all the characters. Yeah, so I guess we'll just jump right into it. Yes, is it this one? Okay, no, we're not starting with this one. We're gonna move our way up, by the way. So I have the description of everybody's artist, or not artist, but all the descriptions and your names. So the first one that we have here is by Owari Duck. Owari Duck is a kind of frequent artist that pops up in our Discord. Oh, also, by the way, if you guys haven't joined our Discord, definitely check out our social media accounts on Instagram and especially Discord. We do pretty much everything on Discord, so announcements, art challenges. So if you were like, wait, I didn't know we were doing like an art challenge, not an art challenge, but I didn't know we were doing like a feedback fixing your character type of stream. I didn't know I could have submitted my character. Well, guess what? Discord would have been the best place to have found out about that. So if you haven't joined our Discord, definitely check it out. And we also just make a lot of announcements, a lot of kind of updates there as well. And it's also just a really great community for a bunch of artists to hang out and share their art pieces and their work in progresses, ask for help, or just kind of show off what they've been working on. So yeah, it's a great place to hang out. It's super welcoming. It's a great community, and hopefully we catch you there. Just give me a second. I'm gonna pop out the chat. Just gonna put it here. Okay, just rearranging my setup so I can see everything. The guy looks pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, so let's see what Owari had to say. This says, artwork is of a struggling warrior in Noxus. I'm assuming that Noxus is maybe like the city or the place. Pretty cool name, nice. Trying to find his sister. I struggle with armor, hands, and overall I want to improve his design and make it more professional. I want to make his key features like scars, scarf, and blade stand out. Okay, cool. Yeah, as you can see here, if you want a little reminder as to like who we're talking about or kind of the name of the artist that I'm referring to, the names are going to be here on the side. Maybe, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit too much of a teaser. And now you guys can see everybody who may be coming up down the road. Again, just a quick reminder, I don't know if I'll be able to go through all of them because it's a lot. I just kind of quickly went through and grabbed all the ones that I thought looked interesting. Some will get maybe a bit more of a longer critique than others just because there's some that are a bit more beginner, some are that are a bit more intermediate, only just require a few like kind of, I guess, comments here and there. But yeah, we'll try to give a fair shot or a fair shake to everyone. Okay. You know what, in that case, maybe I'm just going to group these. No, I'm not going to group that. I'm just going to group these. Okay, so Owari Duck said that they kind of have a little bit of a struggle with armor and everything, and I feel like this looks pretty good. Overall, this is not a roast, so we're going to be pretty, like, nice and complimentary. Or not complimentary, but we're going to compliment the artists here and there. Just give a little shout out to like what's working and what maybe could be improved upon. But overall, I think you did a really good job with the character's design. I love all the details and the storytelling that comes from all the details that is on the character. Now, don't get me wrong though, just because there's a lot of details doesn't mean that makes a good character design. I think sometimes a plain character can work just as well as a very detailed character. It just depends on the story that you're trying to tell with that character. So you'll see down the road that I've picked some selections purposefully where the character actually has very little design to also showcase that little, like very minimal design can also be just as effective as very detailed design. But in this case, I think the whole like warrior and kind of like, especially like struggling warrior, works really, really well, and works really well with this character. So let's take a little bit of a deep dive on this character's design. Overall, we'll kind of like work our way down maybe. I really, really love the hair. I really like the shape of it, the messiness of it, the way it's sitting on the head also looks really good. If any of you are struggling with hair, a good kind of thing to keep in mind is that hair should feel like it sits on top of the head. I know it sounds really kind of like obvious, or it's like, oh well, yeah, that's kind of common sense, of course it needs to sit on top of the head, but a lot of the times people don't make hair feel like it's sitting on top of the skull, but instead it is a part of the skull. So what I mean by that is, a lot of times when we draw faces, let's say this is our character, we'll draw hair kind of coming from the head, and it maybe might not look too bad, especially if you're going for a more stylized look. It might look okay, but what ends up happening is when the hair just feels like it's stuck on the head, there's a missing kind of bit of volume, or a little missing kind of space that the hair should be taking up. So we subconsciously realize that something is off. So a good kind of piece of hair should feel like it sits on top of the head. So something like this. So it should have like volume to it. It should feel like it really sits on top and carries a sense of kind of rhythm and momentum in how it like wraps around the head. So in this case, I think Owari, you did really, really good job with the hair, and these hair pieces here also do a really good job of telling us how the hair is sprouting from the head. So the reason why I'm going over this and mentioning is in case any of you guys here also struggle with hair or have a hard time kind of knowing how to put hair on top of heads, hopefully this gives you a little bit of a heads up, or a little bit of a head start on understanding, haha, no pun intended, a little bit of a head start on how to approach hair. And what can help is making it a little bit poofier, but also at the same time hair can be maybe a bit too poofy, so it's finding that nice balance and middle point. And again, some people go like, oh well, what's the formula? And I would say that there is not necessarily a formula. Sometimes at the end of the day, it's kind of finding the good balance point and experimenting with what hair shape works well with your character, but always just keeping in mind that hair should feel like it sits on top of the head, and that it should feel like it's sprouting from your scalp and from your cranium, rather than just like drawn onto the head shape. So something like that. This is something that Owari is doing really, really well. So I'm just kind of commenting on that. Now, what I do think is a little bit tricky, or a little bit kind of, there's a little bit of a struggle here, is in the scarf. So any kind of clothing where there's a collar or anything that should be sitting on top of the shoulder, this is something that I've kind of gone back and forth with myself as well as an artist, especially when I was in my younger days. That sounds weird to say, but when I was younger, I really loved drawing people with hoods and jackets and coats. Part of that was just due to like a manga series called D. Greyman. So I don't know if anybody here is a D. Greyman fan, but D. Greyman had these like really cool, like in the series, a lot of the characters, their uniform was wearing these like leather kind of jackets, kind of similar actually to Kingdom of Hearts, I think, or Kingdom Hearts. And like their collars were always popped up, and they had like big zippers on them, and like almost kind of, I guess now what we say like chrome hearts. But now that I think about it, I was like, wait, the Greyman was doing chrome hearts style of decal and designs on jackets way before I think chrome hearts was a thing. But yeah, imagine like thick leather jackets with big zippers and like metallic crosses and buttons on the jacket. So I love drawing those kind of things on my characters and giving my characters those kind of outfits. But what I always found was that collars never felt like they sat or wrapped around the neck properly. Same thing with scarves and hoods. So the big thing is to just remember that hoods and scarves need to feel like they sit on top of your character. And to help kind of make that work, I always recommend having maybe like the back of your scarf show up behind the character's head. So put it like maybe at least underneath the ear or positioned behind the ear so that it really feels like it's sitting on top of the shoulders. And then I usually like to have it kind of buckle a little bit here. And what I do like is that you are covering the face, so it shows a little bit of depth. But I would go even further and just like completely kind of cover this area. Have a big sweeping kind of curve go across the face, and don't have that curve go all the way to the end of the I don't know, this scarf. Have it kind of just hover here a little bit, just so that it shows a little bit of thickness. It's the same principle as a cup. When we draw a cup and you want to draw the thickness of like a cup, we don't just draw the cup like this. We usually, this line here is usually erased. So we kind of go and this is kind of like gone. And instead, when we draw cups, we draw it like this. So this gives an implication, or it helps imply that the cup has a bit of thickness to it. So something like that. And then we do one more layer where we do the cup like this, where we draw the inside of the liquid. And so this helps to imply that there's thickness to the cup, there's a roundness to it, and there's depth and volume to the mug, the glass itself. And it's the same principle with a scarf. So what you do here with the cup, you do the same thing with the, where's the color? You do the same thing with a scarf. The scarf might be sitting like this, and you know, we'll draw the other side, and maybe there's the person's head over here. And then you have this part maybe flowing like this. And you can kind of see, hopefully, that this is very similar to a mug. We don't want these folds or these kind of curves to go all the way to the edge, or else it makes it feel like the scarf is either really, really thin, or the scarf is just wrapped in a way that's not quite what's true to how a scarf would actually wrap around a person's kind of neck or around the face. So leave a little bit of a space and leave almost this little bit of a bump here to imply kind of just depth and like maybe a part of like where the neck would be. And then we can add like other bits of like fold lines here. Now these ones, you can have them go all the way to the edge, but I find that for the most part, I like to leave them kind of empty for the most part and have all the fold lines be in the middle. So this is kind of how I would approach kind of a scarf. And I'm doing it really quickly. But the other part too is if you want to have the scarf kind of hanging down, I do like that it's not like coming up from underneath. Maybe it's like a really, really thick, large piece of scarf and it's hanging down. But if you guys are doing like a normal scarf where you like tuck it in and everything, usually the hanging part of the scarf comes in like here and maybe something like that. So if you're drawing like a more normal regular scarf, it might be like this. Another version of the scarf that you might be doing, Owari. Also, hello, Ari Chips. Doing pretty good. The type of scarf that you're doing, I would maybe leave it a little bit sharper, especially if it's supposed to be one piece of cloth. The tricky thing about this, especially with cloths, like fabric that's kind of loosely hanging with no structure, is that you'll have to put in a little bit of time to map out and figure out how the fabric is flowing across the body. So if it's something like a handkerchief or kind of like those bandit masks that, and then people like pull it down off of their face and have it hang around their neck, I would say like I would highly recommend looking up references for it so you know how those fabrics would be and how they would drape onto the body, because with fabric like this, it's kind of a more randomized, the folds are more randomized, so it's hard to actually try to figure your way out. There's a lot of like complexity and intricate shapes that are happening when we just kind of grab a piece of cloth and let it rest naturally. It's kind of like taking a blanket and just tossing it onto your bed. The way your scarf is or cloth is going to fold when you toss it onto your bed is going to be completely random. There's no way to plan for it or kind of figure out a quote-unquote formula for it, unlike the other types of folds that are out there for clothing. Like when you bend your arm and the folds that happen around your elbow. Those we can kind of plan out. But when you grab a scarf or a piece of cloth and throw it on your bed, it's always different every single time. So there's no way to plan for it. And so the best way that I like to go about it usually is to find references and try to see how a fold is moving and try to copy it as best as I can. But if I'm doing like a handkerchief type of a fold, I might do something like this where, like, let's say this is the person's face, person's face is down here, and then we got like the opening of the scarf. I like to leave a little bit of this like diamond fold around here. You can usually place it roughly where you put the bends on the outside, so you can kind of see how there's like bends around here. Oh, whoops. You can kind of see how there's like some bends around here, and so that's where I would put the fold. You can even add like maybe one more here to show that it's sitting on top of like the body. Like this is where it starts coming onto the top of the chest. So if I'm going to do that, I'm going to kind of add a little bit of a bump again, just to visually show that there's a change in plane or a change in direction with the fabric. And then I would have it kind of fold out like this. Now, if you want it to be curved here, you could. It just looks a little bit odd for me. I would maybe just make it a bit sharper. I would actually maybe also have it here, like these folds like this, and then maybe have this be, maybe we could have it be like, maybe like this, something like this, kind of a little bit of an experimentation, see what works. Yeah, I think that looks not too bad. I would make it a bit sharper just so that it kind of matches like how drapes or like scarves would actually fit on the body. The drooping part, if you do want to keep it, I don't know. I think I would like maybe go about redesigning it, because even though it might seem really minuscule or like kind of minute, it does change a lot to the character's design. Everything else though, I'm gonna just maybe for this piece, just so that we have enough time to go into other people's drawings, I'm not going to comment too much on the hands. I think the hands look pretty good for the most part. The forearm might be a bit thick. I also might maybe move the elbow up a bit, so the tricep and the bicep, they can still be really, really big, but I might thin it down a little bit, unless you're trying to go for really, really crazy body proportions, then maybe, but even then I might kind of just shrink, or not shrink necessarily, I might just raise up and change the proportion of where the bicep and the forearm would be. Same thing with the hand. The hand kind of just transitions from the forearm a little bit too kind of quickly, so the hand can be here, but I would always try to add maybe a little bit of a bump. So if you kind of feel around your wrist, you can feel that there's a little bit of a bump around the pinky side and even around the thumb area. And no matter how muscular or how kind of even like body fat as well, these parts of your wrist still kind of stay visible, because we don't generally build fat around joint areas. So like your knees and your hips and your wrist, they don't generate fat. Instead, fat usually builds around them. And if you look at people who are like really, really obese, the fat actually sags around the joints. They don't stem from the joints. Now, I think like maybe fat can start building up around like inside of the cartilage, and that's kind of what spaces out and kind of makes the knees and the wrists kind of blown out a little bit, or yeah, kind of ballooning. But a lot of the body fat, especially if you're not like quite at the obese stage yet, the fat actually starts sagging around the joints. They don't start from the joints. And so what that means is that when you draw really muscular characters, make sure that you can kind of showcase or distinguish like these joints that come here. It helps to really make your hands feel more tangible in a way. But yeah, And then I would maybe space out this area, have the knuckle area be here, and then have the fingers start here. I would also maybe not have it curving up like this just yet. I would just have it maybe be straight. You can have it maybe be... I like the direction though. I like the hand pose that you're doing. But I would use this kind of like just quick blocking of the lines to get an idea as to where the hands would be. So I don't want to change too much of the pose, but just kind of giving you an idea as to what else you could do. This one's a really quick one. I would not include this fold here. So especially for capes, I would keep it a very clean flowing line. So if this is the direction that your cape is flowing in, to have a random break like here kind of disturbs the flow of your cape. So I would not have that there. Everything else is totally fine. I would maybe not have so many fold lines here. And if you'd want this many fold lines, I would have them go all the way and follow through to the top. And one thing to help with drapery and folds as well is to have them be not too parallel. Don't have them be exactly the same. Have them kind of be closer together around the source, and then as they get further away from the body, you can start kind of expanding them a little bit. So maybe this one be like this. This will make your capes feel a little bit more natural and not so like stiff. Or it'll make the flow of the drapery, of the cape feel a little bit more natural. Yeah, so this is Owari's. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit in kind of cleaning up your design, and hopefully this was useful for other people who might also be struggling with the same thing. So yeah. Okay, took a swig of coffee. Gonna move on to the next person, Owari. And ultra big to brain time. Okay, the next person is Corner Goblin. So this one overall, I think this one's a really, really great one. I think I didn't really have too much in mind, but I just thought this was like a really good drawing. Let me see what they said. Often struggle with anatomy, facial expressions, and shading. This one is something I'm proud of as a fan. Art OC from the Gator Boys ASMR series. Oh, I've never heard of that, but that sounds cool. Yeah, this is really, really cool. I like the character's design, and the pose is really good. Let me see. Overall, not anything too crazy stands out in terms of like, oh, it's like, oh, that's not looking good. Overall, I think everything is looking like it's well put together. One thing I would maybe pay attention to is the length of the arm, or maybe kind of just the size of the arms. So if you're able to, I would always recommend, like, as Kevin likes to point out, I have a mirror in front of me. And so whenever I'm drawing characters and I need to do a pose or an expression, I like to use myself as my reference. So if I'm drawing a pose like that, I might do the same thing. And what I would pay attention to is the point of the elbow and the tip of my head. And I would kind of look at the distance between that in the mirror. Now, I know that maybe the angle might be different in the mirror, and the drawing and the pose might be a different angle. So, like, you have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of wiggle room for technically how close you want to replicate what you see in the mirror. But this is like a really good kind of just habit to build up for all of you guys when you are checking your drawing and checking your proportions for your characters, is to do the pose yourself and kind of pay attention to very key landmarks. Things like your elbow and the top of the head are very good landmarks to just check. And so I would do this pose myself. And what I notice is that my elbow is like this close to my head. Like it would be like here maybe. And then the other elbow is higher, but I think it sits maybe more like here. So, and also remember, elbows are not just a singular point. They have a little bit of kind of a flat plane here. So I would maybe have the elbow or the arm look like this. So again, depending on how you want to draw the arm. If you are thinking of like, oh, the arm's actually meant to be longer, then that's totally fine. I would maybe make them a little bit longer so that it's kind of a bit more obvious that it's meant to be longer. Because right here, this feels kind of close to what an actual arm would look like. And all the other proportions on the character feel very grounded or more normal. So that's why I'm like, you know, I don't know if you want the arm to be a little bit longer than what it's supposed to be. But if you are, then I would like maybe try to exaggerate some other stuff. Because the only thing that's kind of, I guess, more animalistic is the tail and I guess this color of the skin, but everything else feels more human-like. Now, so like making the arms the correct proportion feels like it should be lower a little bit. Be a bit lower. It could be. So it's really dependent on like how you want to adjust it. I think like this is a good place to put it, depending on like the angle of the photo and the angle of the pose itself. You could lower it a little bit more if you wanted to, but yeah, it's the whole point is to kind of go through like how you can use yourself as like a point of reference. You don't have to go out and take a photo. You don't have to find the perfect reference on the internet. A lot of times you can just quickly do the pose in front of a mirror or even in front of a camera if you don't have a mirror accessible like right around you. So just doing the pose right around yourself is a really quick way to just check if your proportions are generally in the right spot. And I say generally because, again, the angle of the mirror that you might have or the angle of the pose, they just might be a bit different. And the character's proportions might be a bit different. So take it with a grain of salt when you check for the proportions. But yeah, I would lower it a little bit. And then the one other thing too is just remember that as the arm comes around, it kind of needs to transition to the armpit. So you kind of have it here, which I really like. You got the kind of arm coming in, and then you got a bit of like the shoulder. Oops. And then the shoulder, and then you have like a bit of like the chest. So it's almost like 3 bumps in a way, if you want it to be. I'm trying to keep it really, really subtle because your drawing's not like super muscular, or the character's not super kind of like super anatomical. Everything is a little bit more streamlined and smooth, but you can kind of see that here in your drawing. You have the elbow, you have like the tricep, you got the shoulder, and then you have your lats. So I would maybe just lower that a little bit and then have it be maybe around here. Again, depends on the musculature of the character. So this is how I would lower it, just to have it better fit kind of the proportions or the anatomy of what this character might have. Other than that, it looks pretty good. I like the expression. I like the face design. You got that Kim Possible lip going on there. That's really, really cool. Okay, this is one thing that I did notice in the belt, but now that I'm looking at the rest of the torso, I am noticing that your center line is also just like a little bit off, just a bit to the side. So this is something that I'll always love to do once I'm done maybe like the cleanup rough. So I'm not doing the final just yet, but I have the rough design and it's kind of there. Everything's placed where I want it to be. And I want to just make sure that everything is where it should be before I commit to the final drawing. And something that I like to do is just tracking the center line. So this is kind of like a tried and true tip that is that's been kind of repeated over and over to me when I was like a kid, all the way to like now. It's something that I even like need to remind myself, and that is to just check where the center line is for your head. Kind of follow that through down to the neck. Imagine it's going underneath the neck so we can't see it, and then it looks like this is maybe the center of your neck. And if we follow that, and then we follow to like the direction of how your torso is twisting. So in this case, I'm actually kind of ignoring the design and the look of your outfit, but instead I'm looking at like how the person's chest is kind of twisting. And based on kind of like where the boobs are pointing and the angle, like how much we can see of the armpit and the side of the body and even like the areas here, this tells me that the center line is around here. And so if I need to connect everything, this feels like this is where the center of the body would be. Like around here. And like anatomically, maybe something like this. I would maybe push this part a little bit over, and we can kind of swerve it over, but this is maybe as much as the figure would probably curve. So if I were to then follow through with that, this is maybe the angle. So this one, it's turned much more, where we see a bit more of the side. This one, so they're both 3/4, but this one is turned more to the left and this one's a bit more centered. So you still get a little bit of that twist. But now that we've kind of solidified a little bit better as to where the center line is, I would put the belt buckle, unless you want it to be off to the side, I would maybe reposition the belt buckle here. If you do want it to the side, though, I would maybe do something in the design of the pants to kind of help hint where the center of the body would be. So that would be like maybe this kind of fold in the waistband of the pants, like making it a bit more bigger, maybe a little bit more obvious that it's there. I like this opening in the pants. This is really, really cool, really well done. I might push this pouch off to the side a little bit and not show it too much, and instead actually show this one a lot more and put it here. So then again, it kind of helps to convey the idea that the character, like the angle that the hip is in. And then everything else looks great. So it's really more just the proportions and the anatomy that could use a little bit of some tweaking. And then the last thing that did stand out to me is the tail. Tails that come out of like a more human body can be like really, really tricky, because tails, they need to feel like they realistically sit or attach to the body. And this one, based on how thick it looks, it's a little bit hard to imagine how it's attaching to the body. So I feel like it needs a little bit of like a transition here and then a curve. So instead of having the curve be like this, have the curve be more like this. So it feels like it comes from the tail, from the body, like it's attached to the spine, and then it's slowly extending out. This makes it feel like it's just stuck onto the body, whereas this one here, like, so the first one feels like it's just kind of glued onto the body, whereas like the second one feels more it stems from the spine. So just having a little bit of this extra curve here will not necessarily be like, oh well, that's how it always has to be or how it's like properly built, but it helps to give the audience a better idea of how it's stemming from this body or from the spine. But everything else is great. So it's really more just like making it feel a little bit more believable. Yeah. Sorry, missed a few bit of like the comments here and there. Let me catch up on chat. Yeah, the crocodile tail is cool. Very cool design. Is there a site you use for mannequins for poses if you can't pose yourself? Ooh, that's a good one. Do I have one off the top of my head? I don't think I have one off the top of my head. It's on like another browser. Oh wait, oh maybe I have it here. Actually, let me check. I think this is something some of our other teachers use. Is it Magic Poser? No. Is it? Oh, it might be Magic Poser. I think you have to pay for Magic Poser though. But let me see. Yeah, here. I'm gonna put it into the chat just in case anybody wants to check it out. I do think you have to pay for it though, but this one, they're basically kind of like 3D models that you can push and pull the joints to pose them however you want. Another thing that you can get as well, there are a lot of cheap ones on Amazon. There are these posable mannequins that are pretty dexterous, pretty flexible. So you can get a pretty cheap one. They're kind of small maybe for the cheaper ones. But again, the whole goal is to just give you an idea of to how you can pose something. So I do recommend kind of checking those out. Yeah. I think the design's really nice. So Vin says, I think there was a gap from where the tail comes out next to the leg could make it more fluid. Yeah, potentially showing like maybe where the tail is like down here, or even like having it be a little bit further out so there's a little bit of a gap could also help just us understand the flow of the tail a little bit more, just making it clear. Yeah, that's a good point. Tails can be tough, yeah. How do we change the clothes when it becomes to wings, tails? Struggle with that. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know if I'll have time to go through that, but if anybody has any like pointers or tips for B460, feel free to chime in. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for, let me see, Corner Goblin. Where are we? We are not making good headway on time. Okay, well, thank you, Corner Goblin, for submitting. Really great drawing overall, and a really, really cool design. I think you did a great job with the pose. And also, thank you, Owari. I don't know if I thanked you, but I'll just thank you again. And the next one we have is Carl. So this is one that I've been seeing Carl kind of work on throughout the past few weeks, I think. And some really good stuff. I think you've kind of done a good job of making adjustments and changes and a lot of improvements to the character designs over time. Yeah, this is a kind of piece that Carl's been chipping away at, and we as the instructors have kind of seen the progress. And yeah, I think, Carl, you've made a pretty good amount of headway. You've made a lot of the changes that we've suggested. Like beforehand, Vlad's character was kind of all red, and they didn't have these golden kind of embellishments, I guess you could say, on the character's outfits. But after like a member's critique, I remember kind of mentioning that it might be nice to add a little bit of just some small subtle details. Doesn't have to be crazy details or anything, but just small things like a button or the cufflinks would be really nice. So yeah, and I think you did a great job of implementing that into your characters, and they're starting to be a bit more cohesive. I like this extra bit of stripe on the hair, turned out really good, and the pink, I don't know, scrunchie that you put on the hair also turned out really good. And I also think Jack comes along much, much better. So Jack originally was way more chaotic, I think, and a little bit less cohesive, but I think this turns out much, much better, Carl. And Bob also turned out much better too. Like we suggested, like, oh, maybe like a janitor's tool belt to go around them might help a bit. And even though Bob is really chunky, adding things like cuffs or like just changes in the shapes could really help, even though he's supposed to be very square and chunky. So yeah, I think you did a really good job with these characters. I think, again, Bob and Vlad are probably the most successful, at least in my eyes personally. They're really great. They've got some really great silhouettes and character shapes on them, and yeah, just like their personality shines through a lot. Now with Jack, I think Jack looks much better. The color combination is still quite a lot. I'm wondering if there's anything to maybe like trim down or kind of simplify a bit more. I know that I'm saying simplify as if like we always gotta simplify, but it's more like take it case by case, depending on like the style that we're going for. So since the characters here, the style overall and the approach for all these characters overall is a much more kind of straightforward, kind of more flat style. It means that you want to be a little bit more picky and restrictive for like where you add details. So I think in this case, maybe for Jack, also maybe like a little bit of an adjustment. I would have the apron come out this way. So I wouldn't have the apron kind of perfectly curving back. I would have it kind of fan out a little bit, maybe. Maybe you were thinking like, oh, maybe it looks a little bit like a skirt or a dress, so maybe you curved it in. So if that's the case, you can always like maybe straighten it a little bit. But before it was curving back a little. Also, I don't know if Jack's supposed to have like a shaved head here. Maybe they are. I don't know. But it looks like there's a missing bit of hair here, unless it's intentional. I don't know. But just something to, I don't know, let me know, I guess. Let me see. Oh, you know, okay, so for Jack's design, I was thinking like maybe the shoes. This one's a tricky one. I want to see how this might turn out. I kind of want the whole shoe to be yellow, and then we have maybe an accent in blues. I don't know, it could be just like a dot or something. The shoes are or the shoes all be blue. I don't know. The combination of yellow and blue is quite strong. I don't have maybe a solution. Maybe it doesn't need a solution. Maybe it's fine. But something about it does feel like it's missing for me. Maybe it's just like a stripe over the shoes to kind of mimic what's happening up here. You got this nice like stripe, and I feel like having something here I wanted to mirror almost like the clothing. Yeah. Oh, also one thing, Jack feels like he's supposed to be like a little chaotic. He's a little bit more wild, and I'm wondering, is like, oh, it'd be kind of cool if he had like splatters of like mustard, or maybe there was like, I don't know what else would there would be. I know it's like ketchup, so maybe because the aprons are already pretty dark, we can make it a little bit of a darker like blood splatters here and there. Maybe there's like green from like the relish and everything, like just to make it look a little bit dirtier and kind of like all over the place. So I feel like having just a messier design could be kind of nice. Shoelaces, it could be shoelaces. Shoelaces are a bit tricky if you're trying to go for like a more animation approach, but we could put like stripes here. I don't know, something to kind of help with the design and the look of the feet. Could just maybe put like shoelaces. And yeah, everything here looks pretty good. I'm wondering if Nova, so I don't know, maybe I'm playing into stereotypes a little. Nova looks like the more well kept together and very like serious kind of thing, and I'm wondering if like, oh, maybe it could help if she held like a clipboard. You know, sometimes I think with characters it helps to have like an accessory, like a piece of accessory, and I'm wondering if like if she had a clipboard, it would kind of like match her character. A little bit. I feel like it kind of works with who she is. And then if there's maybe like a pocket here, let me just put a little bit of a pocket, and then there's like a pen that sticks up, you know, or I guess pens are sometimes blue, so put like a blue pen here. So again, it's kind of still adding to these tiny little bits of details to the characters to really help flesh them out a little bit more. I think you're getting there closer and closer because the shape design and the character variety is really much there. It's kind of like thinking of what small little storytelling tidbits can we add in there to really push the character further. So I think having that is good, like having the dirt and kind of like the messiness in the apron is a really good. And yeah, the most detailed thing in the part of the design. You know what? That could be it. It could be because it's too detailed, or that's why maybe I was thinking like it could just be like flat. Like that's why I was like thinking of maybe only having it mostly be yellow with a little bit of a blue accent to it. Also, I guess maybe blue and yellow feels a little bit too on the nose. I get that it's like, oh, it's a complementary color, so it's like, oh, let's go all blue, but I don't know. But to be fair, there are some crazy shoe designs out there that that kind of go really wild and crazy with colors like this. I don't know. I think it's also maybe because Jack's supposed to be a bit crazy. I kind of want like sharper shapes maybe with his design. So maybe having like a pointier tip, and then the sole is blue, not the what am I gonna say? Like have the tip be blue rather than like the side of the shoe be blue. It could be that. Or the tongue too, yeah. Maybe it's the tongue. We could like maybe chip away the tongue a little bit. Kind of see that kind of matches a bit better. I think that, yeah, it could be the tongue. I think the tongue was maybe a bit too big, and we can bring the tongue back in, but I would have it be a bit smaller. Yeah, that was a good kind of suggestion. Kind of tames it down a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So I think that'll be it for not Jack, Carl. But again, Carl, great stuff. I'm glad you're still sticking with it. You're still kind of chipping away and working on it. I think it's turning out like better and better every time you submit a new version of it. Okay, thank you, Carl. And the next one is someone by the name of Ether. Now let me see. What did Ether say? Ether. Been working on a sci-fi story for a while now. I've been trying to make distinctive alien species for the main character, but they always look like humans with alien features. For this character, he was meant to have no eyes or mouth and sees and talks through electronic pulses that can detect objects and simulate the sound of a voice in the brains of others, but he still remains a little too human looking. Any ideas, changes to make him look more otherworldly would be very much appreciated. Thanks. Thank you, Ether. Okay, I'm just going to take a drink of coffee first. No, I mean, like, really cool design. I really like the helmet. Maybe what could help with it feeling more alien-like is I always like to play around with the anatomy or the proportion of the characters. So in this case, the proportions overall are very human-like, and I don't know, because they got the wings, it's like a fly wing, and then the helmet also feels a little bug-like in a way. I feel like you could really lean in on that and play around with proportions. So I don't know how much you want to kind of make them look really, really alien-like, but you could play around with like this joint area. Bugs a lot of the times are very plated, very big joints, and then very, very thin, long limbs. So I'm wondering, like, oh, we could like make the limb longer. I like this kind of elbow pad that you had here. And yes, it is a little bit late for submissions. Submissions already went up. But again, this is a good time to kind of plug our Discord, I guess, where if you want to stay up to date to kind of these types of streams where you can submit stuff and we take a look at the audience's designs and pieces, definitely stay tuned to our Discord. I would maybe raise this up a little bit, actually. And have a really thin limb. can maybe even add like stripes here, and then play around with maybe the anatomy. So I'm just kind of winging it. I don't know like exactly what I'm going for, but I'm trying to like make it very odd and slightly different. So it's just like kind of breaking the mold of what is there. We can play around, you can even play around with like the number of fingers that are there. You can play around with like these disconnected joints that are there as well, so that it just is a bit more bug-like. And then we can maybe, I really like the, because like what you have here is like really solid. It's just kind of like exaggerating it a little bit more. I like this chest plate, and I'm wondering, is like, okay, well, let's make it more bug-like. You know, the head is there, the collar is there, but it's like, what if we made the torso really thin, and then like a thorax for a bug? So I'm really leaning in on this bug approach. You don't have to. I'm not saying that this is the solution, but this is definitely like a potential approach for how you can make it look more alien-like and not so much like a human. And bugs usually have a much longer torso, so we can make that bigger. We can even maybe extend the hips a little bit, and then we can have the legs be like here maybe. Maybe we don't thin that down too much. Let's give them a bit bigger thighs, and then we can make the knee pads bigger. And then this is like the part where I really want to lean in on like the alien part. Have it again, this is where you might be like, oh, how are you making this up? If you're wondering like, oh, how do you know like this is the direction you should take it in? I'm relying on kind of what my memory, or like what I can remember of like bugs and their anatomy, and I'm thinking about things like praying mantises or grasshoppers, and kind of just like their legs are very much like kind of like this. They're not straight like our legs are. They're not kind of curvature. They don't curve in the way that our legs curve, and that's partly just due to the fact that we have muscles and theirs are more like sticks and everything. Yeah. But this could be a direction, because like I think you have the core elements there, like the helmet, the like kind of the details in the character's suit is there. It's really more just kind of really leaning into a more bug-like direction, so more bug-like. Yeah, so like looking for references for bugs, and like maybe even kind of leaning into the character traits and the kind of yeah, the characteristics and the design qualities that you see in bugs, like plating and like details that are there, and just like the way the kind of bugs, insects have a lot of platings and these segmentations in like the back, the thorax, the abdomen area. Now, if you hate bugs though, then maybe you can look up more like reptiles and see how reptiles also have that kind of vibe to them. But yeah. You would change his head shape. I mean, we could. So this really is like a personal preference, and either totally up to you. I don't think the head needs to necessarily be changed. It could though. You could lean it even more into the bug element of it. But since your character is more sci-fi and kind of, I want to maintain a little bit of that like futuristic armor robot kind of bug-like qualities to them, like robot mixed with bugs. So I don't know if it needs to be changed too much, but it was more of like the structure and the look of the character, having it be more bug-like. Oh, bird could be a really good one too. Like you change it to be more bird-like is could work. Let me see. Metroid, you know, Metroid's also a really good kind of source for making something look a little bit different, a bit more alien-like. Let's see. Oh, submissions are over, unfortunately. But keep an eye out for future kind of community submissions. And we make these announcements mostly on Discord. I believe we sometimes make them on Instagram as well on our stories, but the submission form is on our Discord. So definitely join our Discord. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to go into. So like maybe I'll write it here, like look at non-human. It sounds so like straightforward sometimes, but sometimes it's good to have a good reminder. Non-human references. Find like animals or bugs. To break out of the human mold. And I think this goes for other people too who are trying to kind of break outside of their comfort zone and design characters that don't look too human. I think the best way is just go wacky, go all the way and see how far you can push it. Because I think the reason why sometimes for people who start off drawing humans, myself included, if I can kind of recall what made it a little bit tricky drawing more like creatures and animals, is that most of the time when we're drawing humans, we're trying to perfect human proportions. We're trying to perfect what we already know about drawing humans. So when we get stuck at drawing animals, we're like, oh, I only know how to space out the torso for a human. I only know how big and the shape of what a human arm looks like. But when you're trying to break out of that, you need to kind of remember that for creatures and bug designs, make them thinner, maybe make them a bit bigger. The proportions and the placement of the arms and the joints, they're just a little bit different. Don't rely on your understanding of what human proportions are, but kind of that's why looking at references are good, but also kind of relying more on structure and kind of alignment of joints rather than like proportions when you start to break into animals and insects and creatures, especially for those who are more familiar with drawing humans. Yeah. Just anything that humans don't fit. Yeah, basically. Okay, cool. Can traditional art be submitted for critique streams? Yeah, for sure. We actually have I think this is the next one is traditional, or maybe the one coming up. It's down the road somewhere. I think it is the next one though. But yeah, Ether, great stuff here. Honestly, like this is a really good design, and I think you got a really good piece kind of coming up, and yeah, just continue chipping away with it and learn to experiment, try things out, play around with like where the limbs bend, maybe even look at different artists who do kind of creature designs. Jessie does a lot of creature designs. I've done a few, but not as many as Jessie. So definitely take a look at those and see kind of how she breaks up the joints and the limbs and all that kind of good stuff that's there. So yeah, thank you Ether for submitting. Okay, the next one is Heath Bar. I don't know if you know what, I'm gonna assume that it is Heath Bar. I was like not sure if it was Health Bar, but then it was like, oh, maybe you know play on your name or something. Heath Bar. Okay, so this one I picked. Now this one, honestly, I don't have a lot in terms of maybe let me rephrase that. These are drawn really, really great. They're all drawn really well. I can see you have a really good drawing skill and capability underneath your belt. You've got your technical stuff down, and you've definitely also gotten a style nailed as well, where you can kind of repeat it and have it show up in different characters, so that it still feels like your designs, but they feel like different characters. So you've got a style down for sure. So let's see what Heath Bar had to say. A lot of characters. Yeah, it is a lot of characters. You know. Oh, thank you, Vin, for answering that question. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Heath Bar, what do they say? Let me find you. Okay. I want to improve my character design skills. I feel like they are lacking and in need of some flavor blast. That is a interesting way of phrasing it. Flavor blasting. Wow, that is a very descriptive word. Many of my designs are based on animals. I want to incorporate elements that can be easily read as certain animals without being tacky or obnoxious. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. Now that you mention it, I can see it. It didn't really. I don't think it needed to be very obvious, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm like, oh, I wonder what animals what. Like some I think are more obvious than others, but I kind of like that. I like that it's not too in your face, and I think you did a good job with that. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up or bring up this person's drawing is, well, one, to showcase how nice it is, but also to kind of, I think when I read the comment, the reason why I ended up picking it is because of what they said, which is, let me find them again. They do feel a little bit samey in a way, and this is always going to be the hard part because when you develop a style, there is a very good chance that you end up drawing the same looking type of people every single time. So this goes into the discussion that everybody always loves to bring up and ask, which is like style and like how do you develop style. And I think that in this case, when you finally kind of cement a style, things that can kind of help you repeat it but create variety is your line work and how you describe the eyes, how you draw / describe eyes. So I think this is like a big part, and then also how you detail other facial features, how you detail facial features. So this is your style. A lot of times, like, yes, our styles can kind of come down to things like how we draw the eyes or how we draw like the face shape. But what ends up happening is that if you only focus on repeating the same eye shape and the same face shape, you end up coming up with the same looking characters over and over again. Same face, kind of quote unquote what people call same face syndrome. Which is not a bad thing, but if your goal is to try to create a wide cast of characters and you intentionally want to draw different characters, then yes, same face syndrome is kind of a bad thing because then you're not actually creating a wide cast of characters. So I think a lot of people tend to kind of hone in and think that style is by drawing the same eyes and the same face shape. But I would actually argue that that's not necessarily what can only define your style. It's also how you drew the eyes. So it's more so like the line work and how you describe the eyes. You can draw, so as an example, let's give this a shot. I could kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna go for more angular and more kind of sharper eye shapes. So when I draw, and the line work that I use could be something like this. Very sharp, and then how I describe the eyes could be like, oh, it's very angular. I don't draw with circles, I draw like this, and then maybe I'll put in a highlight shape that looks like this. So how I drew the eyes, this is how I describe the eye shape, with a very thick upper lid, and I'm describing it with very thick angular shapes. This is how I'm describing my eye shape. And then I describe my inside, the iris, with like angular shapes, and then I put a square for the highlight. Now I can do the same thing, but now I'm going to change the angle of the eye design. So I'm going to have it be this way, then maybe we'll have a sharper, and then it comes down a little bit, and then we have it like this. So now I can mimic the same thing. Maybe we can have a very thick upper lid, maybe it's a little bit thicker on the other end, maybe there's a bit of an eyelash, and we do the same thing. Now I have like two different eye shapes and eye types, but they're drawn in the same style because my mentality and my approach is the same. I'm using angular lines, I'm thickening up only the upper lid, and I'm drawing the eyeball in the same way. The eyeball is actually very similar. Like the iris itself, the iris and the pupil are the same. No matter what kind of person you are, the iris is going to be the same. What's different is the shape of the eye. So like your upper lid and your lower lid, and what kind of eyelid you have. That is going to be what changes. So figure out like what your style is in terms of how you describe the eye, not necessarily how you draw the eyes. Because if you draw the eyes the same over and over again, then yeah, your characters are going to look the same because you're giving them the exact same eyes. But if you look at real life and real people, people don't have the same eyes. They have different shapes. Some are smaller, some are bigger, some are more sharp, some are flatter, some are rounder, some are more square. So it's learning how to like capture a certain way of describing eyes using your line work. And that's why I'm highlighting line work as like a big one here, because this is really where I think style can really kick in and make it still feel like it's something that you have kind of mastered and is your own. But then how you use that line work to draw and describe your characters is what's going to make them feel different. And it's the same thing with facial features too. But yeah, so here I think not necessarily a problem, but I do see that you have some different face shapes, but they all follow that like a very similar, like this. Like for example, these two have very similar face shapes. So it's this kind of very rounded chin kind of look, and it's kind of the same repeated throughout all the characters. Like it's the same face shape. So what do I encourage you is to try out maybe different face types, maybe make just people's faces a little bit longer, maybe make people's faces a little bit more square, sharper. I like that you're playing a little bit with eyebrows. Eyebrows is something too that you can change up, and it doesn't have to be allocated or associated to your style. I think that's another one too that a lot of people kind of go like, oh, eyebrows, I'm gonna make them the same. And again, people don't have the same eyebrows. There's people with more flat eyebrows like this. And then there's other people who have thinner eyebrows like this. And other people whose peaks are over here, where the thickest part of the eyebrow is here, and then other people's thickest part of the eyebrow is here. Thickest. And then this part is the thickest. So it's really kind of experimenting with that and realizing that your style is more with how you draw in terms of your line work and where you put the line weight, and less so about like repeating the same shapes over and over again. So yeah, that's kind of one thing I would challenge you. So not really so much with like your drawing skill or capability, but definitely how I would challenge you to maybe experiment more with face proportions. Yeah. Zipporah says, same face syndrome is like the universal artist struggle we all go through at some point. Is a battlefield out there? No, for sure. And everybody's gonna have a different take on it. Some people embrace same face syndrome, and other people kind of see it as something that they want to conquer. I know a lot of you guys probably know of like the very famous artist Sam Yang, or Sam Does Arts out there. I guess shout out to Sam Does Arts. He is someone who kind of embraces same face syndrome. He knows that he draws the same looking characters over and over again, but he kind of embraces it. He kind of goes like, well, that's what I like to draw. I like my female characters looking this way, so I'm gonna stick with it. And then you have other people like let me try to think of one. Steven Silver. I brought up Steven Silver ahead of time. Steven Silver is someone who's really great, where you look at his drawings and you know that that's Steven Silver, but he's able to draw a whole variety of characters. So those are like two very different artists that have a very different mentality and kind of mindset and philosophy on like how they want to handle the whole topic of same face syndrome. I think sometimes same face syndrome comes up and people think that you have to solve it. And I think it is definitely something where you should be able to kind of go like, I can solve it, but it's my artistic decision as to whether I want to solve it and have it be a part of my drawing, I don't know, my drawing tool belt. So Sam has gone in the direction of like mostly not trying to make all his characters different, and then you have Steven Silver who wants to make all of his characters different. But you can still both tell from both those artists that they have a style. You look at their drawings, you're like, oh, that is Steven Silver. Oh, that is Sam Yang. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you, Heathbar, for submitting. Again, really awesome stuff. Your character designs are great. There's nothing really in terms of like technical skill that I have critiques on, but yeah, it's more of like, how can you experiment and try things out style-wise. And also in the kind of N.E.R.D, hopefully I'm saying your name right. I think the thing with style or same face syndrome that can show up sometimes in cartoons or even anime, the reason why sometimes could just also be budgetary reasons. But that's why having a really good designer or character lead and supervisor, and also making sure that the show has a kind of very solid kind of art direction can also help with that. So things like, I'm thinking about like Avatar, like The Last Airbender, there's some pretty good face variety, but they all look cohesive with one another. Everybody looks slightly different, but you can all tell that the style is the same. But yeah. Okay, so the next one is, again, thank you, Heathbar, for submitting. The next one is Solar Oscar. Let me find you. Here you are. Okay, so Solar Oscar says, I've had this character for a couple years, but I continually struggled to draw them properly. The latest reference I did for them still isn't working for me. Their nose is meant to be really strong and permanent, and she's meant to look like someone who doubts everyone around her. Nice. Cool. Very good description, or thank you for submitting that. Okay, so very kind of similar to Heathbar, actually. This one, honestly, very like good. It's a very solid drawing. I honestly don't have too much to say in terms of like the technical aspects of it, because I really like the colors, I like the design, I think the pose is really strong. Maybe this arm is a little bit long. I can understand if you want to like exaggerate it, push it, but I would either shorten this one or I would lengthen this one. So either shorten, so yeah, maybe I would be like either lengthen arm on the left. Oh wait, not lengthen, shorten. Either shorten arm on the left or lengthen arm on the right. Okay, so that's more in regards to the arm. But the reason why I wanted to bring up this drawing here, even though I think it's really, really good, is I did like the kind of, I guess, the comment about this character, which is that I feel like it seems like you feel like there's something missing about the character. Like it's almost there, but it's lacking something. Actually, what this character reminds me of, maybe I'll go see if I can find an image of it. Persona 5, the nurse character. I don't know if you guys ever played Persona, but there is this nurse character in Persona. Here, I think this is Takemi? And this is what her design looks like. Save real quick. Alright. Persona. Yeah, Persona. Oh yeah, the doctor character. So Persona is like has some like amazing art styles, have some like really cool character designs, and I would say like they sometimes they're not too crazy. I would say they're just kind of like Persona's art style is just one where it's just aesthetically pleasing. They're not pushing boundaries too much, and they're not like super over the top, but it's like it's just cool. The designs are just cool. They're aesthetically, they just look really awesome, and the colors and the rendering and just the art style does a lot of the carrying. The designs themselves are not too over the top. I would say they kind of look like your standard kind of anime slice of life high school character with a little bit of like action sprinkled in. But it's the style, it's the art style that does a lot of the heavy lifting, in my opinion. But the reason why I bring this up is because I think your character kind of reminds me of the doctor character here. Now I realize that I don't know if your character is meant to be a doctor now that I look at it, but it kind of reminds me of a doctor. I think it's because of like the white jacket or the white suit that you have your character wearing. But yeah, the reason why I brought this up is because your character feels a little bit too parallel in terms of like the overall design. So what I mean by that is when I looked at your character, even though it's got this really cool angled kind of momentum, the overall feel of your character does feel very parallel, and not because of the pose, but I think it's because of the design of your character is very straightforward. And so I'm wondering, it's like, oh, what if we raised the shirt up a little bit, or got the pants to be a little bit higher, like something to kind of play around with the proportions. So if we look at somebody like this in the character's design, what kind of like stands out a lot, at least for me, is that it's got a very large circular head. And this is something that I always bring up when it comes to character designs, or I like to kind of mention it anytime that I can kind of bring up, is breaks. So with when it comes to character designs, try not to have everything be totally lined up, especially if it's a character that's meant to look a little bit more realistic, or is kind of resigning a more like slice of life everyday kind of character design. I think it's always good to pay attention to where you can add breaks. So this is what I call a break. There's a break between the head and the shoulder, and then there's a break kind of here in the belt. So this is also a break. And then this area here is kind of also a break. So in your character's design, I think what kind of makes it a little bit tricky is that the whole character is blue. Not that you can't have that, but I would try to find like some design element here to help with that break, to kind of add breaks here. So in this case, what I was thinking of is like, oh, maybe we could add like, make the hair a little bit bigger, maybe? Like have the hair come out a little bit more. Maybe have the hair be a little come out, and the braids are really cool. Like this whole kind of tied up hair here is really cool, and I feel like it'd be a really good idea to maybe play around with that. But I'm making the hair poofier so that again we have a little bit of a break right here. So again, you want to add a break here, or at least just make it different and separate from the rest of the body. So because the hair has so much like shapes and it's very dynamic of a shape, it'll stand out a lot in comparison to the rest of the body. So I would like maybe even have like this come out a little bit more and everything like that. Now I know that you mentioned that like the nose is a big part of it, so maybe if the nose, well, you want it to be stronger, it might compete with the hair. So maybe the hair could be a bit flatter, so then the nose can stand out a little bit more. You said you wanted a stronger nose. I would suggest like maybe playing around with how much the nose comes out, but it's gonna be kind of up to you. Other areas for breaks, I like this part. That's why I was like, oh, what if you raised her shirt up a little bit more? If you don't want to show the belly too much, then you can have the pants be a bit higher, so that it's just this torso area is smaller, because right now it feels a bit even and you might be like, how is it even? You know, it's so like distinct. If I look at roughly where the black kind of takes up, like the black of her shirt, this is roughly how much space it is. And then if I look at from here to the next visual break that I see, it's the bottom of the coat. You'll notice that these are very similar in heights. They are very kind of similar in spacing. So it feels too evenly divided. It's too evenly distributed. So that's why I'm like pushing either the shirt higher or lowering the shirt will make it a little bit more distinct. And I would say that if you want to give them longer legs, then I would raise the shirt up to be here and then have the belt be here. So then you really accentuate the legs. If you don't want the legs to be that long, you want to be a bit more grounded, then you will lower the shirt so that this part here doesn't look too even. So this is like, it's too even. And if we go back here, you'll kind of see that it's... it kind of is also even as well. It's half. But I think what helps here is that the character's not all in blue. So even this part is also quite like in half. But what helps kind of separate this is that you have this area right here. So whereas your character here, it's all in blue. So then it's like, it's right here, it's split here, but then everything's the same. Whereas like here, it's split in half, but then we have this red, and then black, and then skin tone over here, kind of framed by the white part of her jacket. So there's a lot of kind of back and forth happening, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But yeah, let me see. I know I saw the Solar, you're here. Let me see. Oh, you'll never believe this, but she was initially meant as a persona. Oh, really? Oh, that's so cool. What a coincidence. Yeah, nice. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks for the character description. Nice. Didn't the comment say nose? Her nose, or yeah. Yeah, it could be like the color. You know what? Something I find is kind of neat is that I think it could go both ways in terms of colors. I think a lot of people think that like, oh, if they're shady, they need to be like all in dark, kind of gloomy colors. But I find that sometimes when things are too bright or things are too pristine and clean, it also gives a character this sense of like, it's too good to be true in a way. Whereas like when it's too clean and it's too blue and it's too like cleaned up and pristine, it's like there's something off here. Like you're too good in a sense. So I actually think the colors here it works because it makes it almost feel like it's that sanitized, very like the means justify the ends justify the means kind of person. I feel like there's a lot of movies and shows and video game characters where a lot of doctor characters, yeah, it's like, are you hiding something kind of a vibe where it's like you look too well put together, but the environment that you're in doesn't allow for you to be this well put together. So there's something that you're hiding. So I actually think it works for this character. And it could also come down to the expression in the eyes too. I like that your character's face is very kind of almost like sad. There's a sadness in the eyes, but I guess this is good kind of segue to the nose. So you mentioned somewhere, let me see, nose is meant to be really strong and prominent. Yeah, noses can be a bit tricky, especially if you wanted to keep it a bit more feminine. There's a lot of references and photos that I've seen of like women who have like a really, or like people who have broader noses, but like they're women, but they have like broader noses. And I find that like what can kind of help with that is to raise the bridge of the nose higher. So the bridge of your nose right now is kind of like right here. It's underneath the eyelid. So I think what could help is to raise the bridge of the nose so that it's either on the eye level or it's a little bit higher than the eye level. And then we can kind of make it go a little bit It looks like you gave them a little bit of a hooked nose. And it could be something like this. Because I think other than that, the character design looks great. Looks awesome. So it's like maybe having it come out a little bit more, or just raising the bridge of the nose higher would help with, I think, the kind of maybe the issue with the nose. Maybe. Yeah. And then the hair, but yeah, that's mostly the nose. Like I would raise the bridge higher. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, no, glad to kind of help out with that. Okay, so I think that's kind of mostly what I wanted to say, Solar, but hopefully you found this a little bit kind of helpful, and hopefully gives you a little bit of an idea of like how to kind of maybe refine the character a little bit more, because I think you're really close, you're almost there. It's really kind of just like refining little pieces here and there. Again, these are always more of like suggestions, so you don't have to add all of these things, but these are just some things that I noticed that I would maybe adjust for myself. Oh, we got a lot. I don't think we're gonna go through all of them, but maybe we'll do a bit of a speed run. But thank you, Solar. Thank you for submitting. And we'll move on to the next person here. This one is by the Matt Rat. And let me see. Let me just group these. The Matt Rat. Look at that, Vin being like my second hand, sending out so many like tips and advices. Vin's really staying on top of things. Let's see. Yeah, no problem, Solar. Hope we'll have time for mine. I don't know if I have yours, but yeah, there's so many submissions, honestly more than I was expecting, so unfortunately not able to showcase everybody's, because we got, let me see. Oh, there ended up being like extra submissions as it kind of went in. Sorry guys. Yeah, we got like 74 submissions. Last I took a look, there was like, I don't know, I think 57 or so. Yeah, but there's some like really good pieces here. I'm really happy that you guys are all like submitting and you're really so excited to check out people's posts and images. But unfortunately, there's so many people, we don't have the time to go through everything. Okay, so let me see. So moving on to the Matt Rat. Let me see, where are you? But yes, thank you everybody for submitting though. I hope we can do more of these. If you like this, definitely like this stream. And definitely keep an eye out for announcements like these on Discord, so that you guys have a chance to submit on time, and then I can give you, and hopefully you get chosen. So yeah, there's so many submissions, it's just impossible to do everybody's pieces, but we do thank you everyone for submitting. Yeah. Okay, so Matt Rat here says, I'm not sure if it's a huge issue, but the muscles don't seem right, but I just can't point it out. I'm a beginner artist and I've been drawing on my phone for 7 months now, on and off. I'd love to hear professionals' critique. My OC's name is Bastion and he's not human, but his physique would resemble a large 8-foot muscular supreme general. Okay, in an empire for context. Nice, nice. Yeah. Oh, and yes, submissions are meant to be before the stream starts. At least that would kind of give us at least a head start to gather as many images as possible, but yeah. Yeah, usually we give, I think, people maybe the deadline would be a few days before the stream or a week before the stream. But then the submission list usually goes up maybe a month ahead, or maybe even a little bit ahead of time, so yeah, definitely keep an eye out for it. I'd love to do more of these. Hey, yeah, I mean, I love doing these as well. It kind of lets us showcase the community's things, and I get to see what everybody else is doing, and kind of take a little peek, I guess, behind like your ideas and kind of like where your characters are coming from. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, so Matt Rat, the Matt Rat. That's a funny name. No, it's, I mean, like, as in, I like that name. It's a good name. Yeah, really awesome drawing here. I really like the kind of the shoulder pads are just awesome, and the red and gold design just works really, really well, I think. Let me see. Yeah, overall, really cool stuff here. I think I would maybe not have the drapery or the cape go in front of the arms. Especially if this guy is supposed to be a really, really big guy. And also because I think if his arms were down, then the cape can kind of go over. But if his arms are out, as he is here, I would probably push the arm out so that it's more visible. So if, like, this is the whole arm and everything, it looks pretty big, then I would have it like show all the way. Like, you see how this arm here is covered in the drapery, or this kind of like curtain kind of thing. That kind of is okay for me because the arm is down, but because this is kind of pushing out, I would have it show out a little, like show more of the arm just a bit more. Even if you want to show or have the curtain cover it, I would maybe just have it fall like here, and definitely follow the curvature and the shape of the arm. And I think what else could help with kind of just distinguishing and helping us tell that the curtain is both kind of wrapping around in the front and in the back is to have the drapery have like sit kind of like this. I think this would help a lot with just helping us distinguish that the curtain here is in the front. So something like that would just give it a little bit more depth. I think the other thing too is for drapery and curtain, and I totally like can relate to this as well. When I first started drawing curtains and like draperies, because I love drawing like theater scenes and Broadway, not Broadway, but like circus kind of stages and everything. It was like a whole phase. I love drawing curtains, and there's this almost tendency to want to make curtains curve. But the thing is, like, curtains, not that they can't, but it very rarely and they very seldom do they curve. Meaning, like, when we draw curtains, we can't have them go like this. And then they like sit kind of straight on. They can do this if, like, maybe like the arm is bent, kind of like this, or if it's meant to show that it's moving and it's kind of waving around. But for the most part, curtains actually need to fall straight because of just how heavy they are. If you want to get a sense of like heft and weight, and also just the fact that they're falling down, gravity is going to pull them down, like pull them straight down. So there's not going to be any kind of curves or movements to it. It's all going to be straight. So when you draw curtains or even like capes, try to make them more straight. But yeah, so the only part where you can add a little bit of like variety to them is in the folds. So if I were to draw the drapery, and like let's say I added and I wanted kind of like curves, and this thing is hanging like perfectly normal, then the only thing that can have a little bit of variety is in the drapes, in like the folds. So like how they curve back, how they kind of fold and come together. This is where you can add a bit of variety and kind of visual depth to your drawings. It's not a lot, but it'll make it feel a little bit different. So this is more of how drapery kind of falls down, but then this one is more kind of breaks a little bit of like physics in a way. Oh, hello, glad you're able to make it to the stream. Moonbeam Indigo. I don't know. Sorry, I'm butchering your name. My brain's like, how am I supposed to read that? I don't know. But yeah, glad you're able to make it to the stream. So yeah, that's mostly with the drapery. I really love the shoulders though, but part of me kind of feels like the design, it gets a little bit lost And I'm wondering like what can we do to kind of help the head maybe stand out a little bit more. And I was wondering, like, when I first saw this, I was like, oh, maybe we can have the spikes, the shoulder pads, maybe they come out a little bit more. Maybe they just peek out. Some of the spikes peek out a little bit more. And then maybe these ones, they give a little bit of a room between the head and the spikes so that the head can stand out a bit. Just a little bit more. So that was kind of like my initial take. But overall, really cool design. I really love the structure of this character. And I think you did a really good job here, Matt. So, yeah, let me see if there's anything else. Oh, and you also draw on your phone, which is also really crazy. I think that's really awesome. The fact that you draw on your phone is kind of mind-blowing, I think, to me. Yeah. Let me see. Anything else? I kind of want to move on just because we are kind of slowly running into time. And I think I have like a whole bunch though. I also lost Matt the Rat on my Excel sheet. Yeah, I think like having a bit more negative space, like somewhere in the head maybe is what would like help. Add a little bit of just like, maybe even this would be too much or not enough. Like, maybe like here, so that the head stands out. So if this is like the spike, or like one of the spikes, and then this is where the head is. I think this would kind of just help, like that little bit of spacing between the shoulders and the head would just help us see and notice the head a little bit more. But overall, really cool design. Thank you, Matt the Rat, for submitting. Okay, maybe we'll do a speed run now. Okay, Celestial Goblin, or Gremlin, my bad. But thank you, Matt the Rat, for submitting. Let me see. Celestial Gremlin. You know what? I never realized how weird of a word celestial is. I was like kind of saying it as I was typing it down and prepping for streaming. I was like, celestial. I'm like, oh, that's a weird word. It always sounds normal in my head when you say it, when you're reading something. And then it's like, you say it out loud, it's like celestial, what? But yeah, thank you, Celestial Goblin, or Gremlin, for submitting. Really cool design. So let's see what you said. Here. This is a slightly older piece of mine from around half a year ago, but I'd really love to improve the character's design. His name is Hex, and his original version was inspired by MCYT. Don't know what that is, but okay. Content. Specifically the evil counterparts of Xizuma and Wells Knight. Though his current version is disconnected from fandom and I got vague concepts of a rewritten story, I still feel it necessary to mention his origins, though he's a... Oh, is this No, it's not Monster Hunter, is it? He's a monster hunter and a knight who was exiled... Oh, Minecraft YouTube. Oh, okay. He's a monster hunter and a knight who was exiled from his nation because he ended up absorbing the essence of a monster he was meant to slay. So he's a wandering soldier with nowhere to call home and nothing but his armor to his name. His design feels fairly weak to me, and I recall 3 key struggles as I was drawing him. Posing him in a way that feels both subdued and combat ready. Drawing armor in general, making his rather short ponytail visible so that it wasn't hidden behind him without making it really long or look detached from his head. Okay, well, thank you, Celestial Gremlin, for submitting. Yeah, really cool design here. The armor, here, let's tackle the armor first. Armor, for the most part, looks pretty good. I think maybe why it looks a little shaky is because the armor looks like it's kind of buckling all over the place. So like this armor here looks like it is... Oops, nope. Let's go with this one. Armor here looks like it's going this way, then this one's going this way, then this one's going this way, and then the elbow armor is going this way, but then this one goes here, and then this one goes here. So the armor itself is kind of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, which is not really what you want when it comes to armor. So I think the proportions of your arm are also maybe a bit too long. I would put the arm, like, remember your elbow needs to sit kind of around your chest. So it looks like, based on your character, this is the middle of his chest, which would put the rib cage around like here, and then the belly button here, and then the bottom of your groin like here. Yeah. So kind of like this is what you're working with. So that means the elbow should be here, and then the forearm should be here. And then the hand, actually, yeah, maybe forearm we can make it a little bit longer. And then the hand should be like here. So the arm is getting a little long, and it's the same thing with this side too. The elbow should be maybe here. Hand position is fine, but this arm is maybe a little bit too long still. Even with the armor, this does kind of depend on where you want to put the armor shape though. So, or like how big the armor is going to be. But I still think that maybe it should be a little bit shorter than that. But yeah. Isn't either mine? Is this Minecraft YouTube lore? Yeah, this is kind of how I would like redistribute your proportions. It's a little bit long, and then once you have this, so what I've drawn here is the trajectory of your character's arm. And so when you build armor on top, here, let's draw it out. When you build armor on top, it should feel like it sits on top of the character's arm, and the angle and the angle and position of the armor should follow the cylinders that you kind of make for your arms. So if you put a plating here, then the plating needs to follow the cylinder form of the arm. So we can make the shoulder pad a bit bigger if we wanted to, so that it can hold this one. And then there's another one here, and again, it should follow the direction and the angle that the arm is already in. And then if we put like even kind of like elbow piece here, I don't know too much about armor, so I would definitely look up some armor references, but every time you build it, just make sure that it follows the plating angle, or it follows the angle of the arm when you're plating it. So something like that. So just make sure that they're following the trajectory of the arm. Try not to make them go back and forth too much. So I would say like that's kind of what stands out to me. The other thing is I would raise this foot up just a little bit so that it's like kind of here instead. Although I love the detail that you put here on the foot. It's really, really good so far, and I love how much effort you put into kind of like the back of the calf here. Also, thank you, Vin, for the reminder. Yeah, so the reason why we put it up is just because no matter what the stance, you want to give, if you want to give it a little bit of a depth, you want to have the back foot be a little bit higher than the foot in the front. So it looks like the foot in the front is closer to us and the foot in the back is further. You don't have to make it too much shorter, but just a little bit can help a lot. And I would maybe flatten this foot here as well. Or if anything, I think what would make the most sense is to have the foot point towards us. So like the kneecap would be here. I'm also drawing the armor really, really quickly. I'm just gonna maybe go over time a little just to shout out the people that we didn't get to maybe give a critique for. But I'll give you a little bit of a shout out since I did select you, but then just didn't have enough time to go through everybody's piece. I was kind of more the idea of like, okay, I'm gonna choose all these people, and then if I have enough time to go over it, I'll go over it. But yeah, I would change the position of the foot to be more like this. Okay, the last thing the reason why I chose this one actually was because of the tentacles, or what looks like tentacles. I don't know if it doesn't seem like it's a illustration design element, like they're more of like decorative. It looks more like it's supposed to come out of the character. So I would definitely maybe consider having it come out of maybe the armor a little bit, or having it like look like it's attaching to the character a little bit more. I think even like maybe wrapping around the character could help a bit too. So maybe doing something like having the like the tentacles. Oops. Let's use this. Having like the tentacles maybe come and wrap around the leg. Let me see. How do I want this? Like this maybe could help. And then having it like show up here for the leg. So you have your leg and then you have your tentacle kind of wrapping around it. That could help. Or if it's coming out from his neck, maybe that could be kind of cool. If you have like thinner kind of these like dark wisps coming out. I don't know if they're tentacles. Maybe it's like slime. Maybe it's kind of like a dark aura or spirit that's kind of coming out of his armor and everything. Like whatever the material is, I think it would help to have it like wrap around him, or just show how it's interacting with the character. So rather than just having all of them hover behind him, have it so that we can kind of understand how it's attached to him, or how it's coming out of his armor. Because right now it's a little bit kind of as if it's detached. They're two separate elements, but they feel like they're supposed to be one in the same, or not one in the same, but there's supposed to be some kind of connection between these two elements. So yeah, so it's the armor plating, position of the feet, and just trying to make these kind of wisps look like it's really like a part of him. Thank you, Celestial Goblin, or Gremlin. I don't know why I keep saying Goblin, but Celestial Gremlin. Thank you for submitting. Really great stuff, though. Honestly, I think you spent a good amount of time with like the face and the design, and I can tell that you put a lot of effort in rendering the character and putting in detail for armor. Armor is really, really tricky. It is not an easy thing to do, but I think you did a great job with this one. Okay, so the next one is DT and FB. I think just due to time, I'm just gonna give you a really, really quick comment. Comment here. DT and FB. I think the hands can be a little bit bigger, so we're just gonna do a lightning round here. And I think should be, yeah, maybe like this bunch bigger. If you want the hands to be this over here, then they can, but I think they would be like all the way back here then. And that would also mean that the elbow has to come out a little bit further, so maybe like here. But yeah, the hands are definitely looking a little bit small, so I would make them a bit bigger. Same thing with this one as well. If we want the hands to be here, I would still make them maybe like this big. And then, which means the elbows have to come out a little bit more, so the arm might be more like here. So something like that. Yeah, the orange and white looks great. Like the design of the character looks really, really good. Okay, I'm noticing this now. This is a little interesting. Let me see. What did you say? Yeah, we'll go over time a little bit. T and FB. Oh, Zipporah, I did see your drawing. Oh, okay. Actually, that's a. We'll save Zipporah yours for later, because I actually did save it, but it's in a different part. Okay, this is one by OC William Long from Scotland. Yes, he wears a kilt. Context: he has the ability to stretch and shape his body to however he pleases, but in order to keep his body together, he has to make these buttons around his body to stop him from falling apart. Oh, bearing to hear some feedback on this design is very etched into my mind. Oh wait, did it rhyme? Anyways, any feedback on how this could be improved and any weak points? Okay, I guess that makes a lot of sense then. Because I saw this and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. I still don't know how I feel about this. Like, I assume that it's designed like this because you want it to feel like it's attached to the body. That's kind of neat. Okay. The chest is a little bit too low though, so I'm just gonna make some quick adjustments here. I would make the rib cage, or not the rib cage, the pectoral muscle should be here, and then the rib cage sits more like here. So if you were wondering how I checked that, I took the height of your head, the size of your head, and I moved it down, and I checked where the kind of middle of the chest would be. So it's kind of down here. And the bottom of pectoral muscles usually aren't that much further away from the middle of the chest. So it's the middle of the chest should be closer to here. And then the rib cage, I would put it like here. It's usually not too much farther away from the pectoral muscles. So this is how I would put it. Based on how the character is leaning, I wouldn't curve the abdomen area line like inwards. I would kind of have it be more either stretched or straight. So I'd have it be kind of like this, just due to the pose. And then the buttons would kind of rearrange themselves based on like how the torso is kind of built out. Now the stretching of it could be a cool concept, but I feel like I would make maybe other parts of his outfit also do the same thing. Like maybe there's like buttons attached to his body and it's also stretching there. So we can kind of see that it's not like a drawing error, but it's actually an intentional design. So that we can see that the clothing is meant to be like kind of almost stuck to his body, and it kind of like stretches and morphs based on what he wants. But yeah, so that's kind of just a quick run through. I really do like the hair design and like the outfit design. The color scheme looks awesome. But yeah, I would make the hands a little bit bigger. Just remember, hands should be roughly the size of like the face, so not the whole head, but like from the hairline to the chin. Okay, so we're speed running through these, but thank you DT and FB for submitting. Oh, another traditional one. Yeah, we weren't able to go through everybody's, so again, for anybody who's just joining in, we had about like 70, originally about like 60 submissions, and then afterwards people kept submitting, so we ended up getting like 70 plus submissions, which unfortunately submissions kind of closed like right before stream, so we're not able to go through everybody's, so we're only able to get through a handful. But the next one here we have is by Turtle Bun 2020, or not 2020, 22. This is just a persona I use for my drawings, but I'm pretty bad with anatomy in general, especially when it comes to how to make everything proportional. Hair is hard, and objects. So the reason why I chose this one actually is because I really actually like the simplicity of this one. I chose this one because I wanted to showcase that you don't have to have a really complex design to have a good character design, and I think what you have here is actually working really well, Turtle. I think what you could maybe lean on more is just how big the hair shape is. So you got a really cool big kind of hairpiece shape going on here. I'm just gonna redraw it really quickly, and I like how like the head almost sits inside of the head shape. And the reason why I'm redrawing it is because I want to actually kind of maybe say or encourage like, oh, maybe make the head, like the hair, bigger. I think that would kind of like help a lot. I really like the shape designs. All the shapes that you're using in this character I think work really well. Even though the eyes are extraordinarily big, I think they still work really well. Something kind of similar to like Scott Pilgrim, or even like old school kind of cartoons. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And so it's like there's nothing, I don't think it's for me it's not a flaw that it's that's super big. I actually kind of like it. It helps balance out kind of the shape of the character and the proportions. So I like that it's really big. I actually want to encourage you to make it even bigger for the hair, but I might maybe shorten the length of it. So then this way you can kind of make the body a little smaller so that the head really stands out. So the head is here and the hands are here. And then the backpack, maybe we can make the backpack really, really big. It's a little, what you have here is like a really good collection of objects and elements. And I kind of want to challenge you to experiment a little bit more with the shapes and the sizes of the, not the shapes, but the sizes of the shapes. Because you got some really cool things going on here. And it's really more about like, oh, can I make this like bigger here and then this like smaller? Because right now it's quite even. So very similar to someone else that we just kind of went over. Everything is very kind of even. So make the head bigger, and then maybe the body a little bit smaller, like shorter, and then make the legs longer. So in this way there's like a nice kind of back and forth that's happening with the distribution of proportions. So yeah, thank you, Turtle. Okay, the next one here is Silver Moon. Thank you for submitting, Silver Moon. I know you've been waiting patiently, but yes, we finally gotten to your drawing here. Really nice character. I really like the kind of outfit design and the colors that you've gone for it. So because we're kind of out of time, I really want to kind of just mention a few things here, which is that if you're able to, this is a good example of where I would push the like hair out a little bit more. So let's find like a blue. So this is an example of one where the hair is sitting kind of on, or like sitting, and it's like perfectly kind of connected to the character's head shape. Oh, also, let me read out your description. But where am I? Let me find you. Okay. Reiwa, she's meant to be a human/fox hybrid type character. What do you think of her design? I've recently wanted to add more furry elements into her design, like the digitigrade legs. Oh, not too sure what the digitigrade is. Let me know what you mean by that, and maybe making part of her arms more fox-like. What can I improve on? Yeah, so overall, I think the outfit's pretty cool. I would maybe have, well, actually no. I guess if it's just sitting on the shoulders, I think it's okay. I would definitely have the hair sit above the shape of her head so far. And if the reason why it looks like the head is, or the hair is not sitting on the head, is because this looks like this is the shape of the head. And the hairline attaches perfectly with the rest of the face, like the side of the face. So I would have it kind of just break off a little bit. And if you want kind of side swept hair, I would try to not have every piece too even. Now, I might have made the hair shape a bit too big, so if you don't want it to be that big, that's okay. And then I would have maybe a little bit, or little pieces of the hair here kind of start on the inside, and then it sweeps out. So if you look at kind of the original drawing, it's like a perfectly clean line. And to just make it feel a little bit more like the hair is attached to the head, I would have it come out from the side, and I would maybe make the side pieces here a little bit long, like longer at the top, and then kind of slowly fade out as it gets to the bottom. Yeah, and then the nose shape, I would maybe not curve it like this. So for noses, unless you want it to curve up, like it's pointing up, you can just kind of highlight this little bump there if you want. And I would maybe move the mouth up just a little bit and not make it too long, like the smile. A smile doesn't have to be too wide for it to kind of register as a smile. And I'm just going to clean up the shape of your face to just make it a little bit more even. And the shoulders, for shoulders, try not to make them too flat. So they're very straight lines for shoulders. Have a little bit of like an angle where it comes down just a little bit. And just make sure to follow through. So draw over your outfit so you make sure that the shoulders are connecting properly to the neck. And then once you connected it properly, then you can erase it so the clothing is sitting on top of your outfit. So drawing through is a very important thing to practice, just to make sure that your lines or like the objects are actually connecting properly underneath things. And then let me see the outfit. Honestly, I think the outfit is really cool. The arms might be a little bit big. If you're trying to draw someone a little bit more muscular, you can. I would just maybe separate and kind of identify where like the biceps are and the shoulders are, and like the forearm. So just having them be a little bit wider, like here, and maybe we can make the arm a little bit tapered. So your arms should gently taper towards the elbows and then towards the wrist. Maybe like so. And then lastly, just make sure that the legs are a bit more even. So right now this one's a little bit bigger than this one. So I would like thicken up this left leg on the left a little bit more, so that it matches a little bit more of the other one. And then the legs, yeah, the legs are really cool. I like that you went for a more animal kind of approach for the leg design. And I think you're there. I would maybe bump the calves up a little bit, just so that they have like, I feel like animal legs, they like this part here is a little bit more prominent. But I'll leave that up to you. That's a bit more of a stylistic choice. And then the legs here, they're actually usually quite thin. And then if you want the paws or the legs to come up, I would put them kind of like this. So a bit more of the heel stands out a bit more, and then the balls of your toes or your feet, they're a bit more prominent. So something like that. Okay, Silver Moon. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit to kind of just tighten the drawing up. But overall, I think the design is really good. I really like the outfit. The green stands out nicely against the orange. So really cool stuff here. Yeah, thanks for submitting. Okay, I'm just gonna give a quick shout out to these people because we are over time, but I'm just maybe gonna make a quick comment over them, but I'm not gonna do any more draw overs. So this one is by Nichi Jaguara. Really cool design here. This one actually, I didn't even notice it until I saved it, but there's like a really cool background kind of in the negative space, that's kind of like not made up by the words. Like these spaces are like really cool. Overall, really awesome design here. I think so for you, I think you said that you wanted the ghost design to be a little bit more wispy or longer. So I think what could help with that is just making the arms just a little bit longer. Maybe the fingers could be also even longer, just like extending everything to making them look a little bit more gnarly and otherworldly. And I think also just having the body be a bit more wispy could help too. If you don't want it to be wispy, I think just making it longer would be nice. But overall, really cool kind of character design here. Really love it. Okay, the next one is Rene. Yeah, I chose this because I just thought this was like a really cool cast of characters. Again, a really good example of like how a model sheet or a character lineup sheet can work and how it can all come together, where the designs are simple, but it's the colors and the proportions that help separate the characters from one another. So not super crazy detailed, but just enough to help separate the characters. But yeah, I don't really have anything here, but thank you, Renee, for submitting. And then the last one is Gremlin. This one I thought was just like really cool. Really love how strong this red cape is, and I really wanted to see I think like what could help push this one is just making the cape even longer and maybe making the shoulders even broader. So kind of like having the shoulders just be like really square. I like that one side is longer than the other one, but yeah, I like how kind of broad and square the head is. But yeah, just like broader, it's kind of cool. But yeah, okay, so this is kind of like the special not special category, but I didn't really have any critiques, but I just wanted to shout out the people that submitted. So Zipporah, this is where yours is at. Although you're not the first one. This one is by Tim Morphe. He said this, or I think they said that this was like a plasma character. Honestly, I was just like, this is really, really cool. I really like the collar, the way the folds are built here. Actually, this is a good example of what I was talking about with Owari Duck's character. So you can kind of see how the drapery or the folds of the scarf start way higher and then they come down, and you'll notice that the folds in them, there's a little bit of like that thickness, kind of going back to that cup example. So it's really making sure that these layering in your folds stand out. And the drapery and the elbow bend looks really good. Yeah, just like the final finish looks awesome. I would say maybe the fingers look a little bit odd, but that would be me nitpicking. Overall, like really cool design. So thank you, Tim Morphe. And then Zipporah, here's your piece. So I think this is like an awesome character design. I really love the colors here and just like the shape of your character. The white, or like this really like off-white, balances out the really dark colors really, really well. I'm wondering if you'd want to try this out, which is to just not have any line work at all. I know that even though Vin literally just went like, love the line work, I actually want to see how it would look if there was no line work. And because I think your shape and the colors work really, really well, that I think they can hold up without the line work. And if you do want the line work, I think it might be better to use toned line work rather than really dark colors. And I know that you're doing that already, like with the face and with the hair, but the shirt has like a really black kind of outline, and I'm wondering if it was just like maybe not go for like a really dark blue, but just like a slightly darker than whatever is here. So just like a little bit darker. Let me see. Like, oops, that's too big. Like this, so that the shapes kind of just stand out a little bit more. And I think that would like really help emphasize the silhouette in the cutout, or just not use lines at all. I think that it would like work really well regardless, because it's got a really cool cutout silhouette. But yeah, thank you, Zipporah. Really good stuff here. And then this one's by Eclipse Entity. Yeah, I was just like, yeah, this looks great. I have no feedback on this. I think it looks awesome. Maybe the pecs are a little bit too outlined, especially in the middle. I would actually leave a little bit of like a gap here. I probably wouldn't even trace the middle of the pecs. I would just let the shadows inform it because of how bulky and chunky this guy is. But the shadow rendering, the cell shading that's done here is done really, really well. So yeah, no comments from me, no like critiques or feedback comments from me. Really good stuff here. And then the last one is by Feline. Yeah, really cool character design here. Really, I love how, I forgot who it was. There's that one person where you designed that buggy kind of robot character. I think this is an example of where you can kind of keep it still looking human-ish, but exaggerating and pushing the proportions so that they feel more animal-like. And I totally forgot about this, but another trait that makes it feel bug-like is that usually the upper arm is thinner and smaller, and then the forearms are bigger. So I think this is like a really good kind of distribution of proportions. Like, and again, good breaks too. You got the rounder head and a bit more square shapes in the body, but then everything else is a little bit pointy. So a nice back and forth between the qualities. And yeah, good balance of colors too. The yellow, this lighter yellow, pastel-y yellow works really well with like the much darker qualities here. So really awesome stuff here. And that's kind of it. So thank you everybody for joining this stream. I guess I'll just end off like with this here, so I'm not like highlighting anybody's drawing in particular. But thank you everybody for support, for submitting. We got a lot of images here, and everybody submitted some awesome stuff here. So big round of applause for everybody for submitting their stuff. I think there's some awesome pieces here. Love seeing what everybody drew and what everybody was like working on. And yeah, hopefully we can do this again. Definitely like the stream and subscribe. Definitely comment if you would like for us to do this again, because I love doing this. It gives me a little bit of a break from drawing my stuff here. Oh shoot, did I have the, no, oh, why is the, oh, it's background low. Oops, okay. For a moment I had a scare where I thought the background music was playing on high. But yeah, we had some great submissions, so if we could do this again, that'd be awesome. So definitely like the stream so that we know that you guys want to keep doing this, because we got so many submissions. So if you didn't get a chance to have your piece highlighted, definitely let us know that you want us to do this, so then you have another chance to do this, or you have another chance to have your piece highlighted. And yeah, I think that's kind of it. Let me see. But yeah, no, I think that's kind of it. So again, if you enjoyed what we were doing here, definitely like the stream. Definitely kind of subscribe so you know when we're streaming the next time. And again, if this is your first time checking us out, my name is Josh. I'm one of the instructors here at Wing Canvas, and I'm glad you were able to catch our stream. If you missed the stream, that's totally okay. The vid will go up later on as a VOD, so you can rewatch some of the community's pieces and kind of see what kind of feedbacks and information and advice that I gave. And if this is your first time checking us out and you don't know who we are Wing Canvas. We're a school of illustration and visual storytelling dedicated to helping art nerds turn their passion into income. So we're not just a YouTube channel, but we're also an online school. And if you're curious and interested in leveling up your art skills, definitely check out our websites for more fully fleshed out lessons and classes and projects for you to tackle and help you improve your skills. So yeah, check us out on our website. And also thank you for our kind of members, people who support us on Patreon or on School. Thank you for kind of keeping our free arts education kind of going. And yeah, so thank you everybody for helping out. And let me see. Let's see who else is streaming next. So let's take a look at the schedule. It is February still. Oh, am I looking at the old one? Might be looking at the old one. Jokes. Give me a sec. Who's next? We got... Okay, next is Saturday, February 28th. So that's going to be Jesse. Jesse is going to be how to draw magicians and their magical items. Ooh, that sounds like a fun one. I guess that would be great for anybody who's doing D&D or wants to kind of give accessories to their characters. So definitely check that one out. Then the next one, it'll be March. And it's going to be me. So on March 2nd on Monday, it's going to be me. And we're going to be doing an animation type stream. Man, we haven't done that in a while. So yeah, we're going to be doing a little bit of animating again. So hopefully I'll catch you there. So February 28th and March 2nd. And as always, if you feel like you're not sure when we stream and you would like to know when we're live, remember to subscribe and just kind of follow us on Discord. We make a lot of announcements on Discord, so you guys know when we're up. And yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you guys for joining us on today's stream. Hope you guys enjoyed it and have a good rest of the week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.